Welcome to my video on how to use the box method for multiplication. Now, what I have displayed here are 4 different methods on how to do the same type of multiplication problem. In the upper left-hand corner, this one up here, just put the blue dot, this is called the lattice method. Now, there may be some of you who are using the lattice method, and this is where, in some idea where you have the box of numbers and you draw these diagonal lines and you solve each of the problems based on the box. Like, you start up here with this 3 and then you multiply the 3 times the 2. Well, this is really 30, so 30 times the 2, which is 20. So, but you're doing 3 times 2, and that's you get your answer, you get your 6. And so on and so forth. This is called the lattice method. For those of you who are familiar with the lattice method, I'll be talking about this here. Now, coming down to the one below it, down here where I've just put the next circle, this is called partial product. And partial product, where it's kind of somewhere between the lattice method and the traditional algorithm, and that's where I took the 4, and I said 4 times 7, well, that's 28, and I wrote the whole answer below the problem. Then I went 4 times 30, and that's 120, and so on. And so this one here on the bottom left-hand corner is called partial product. Over here to the bottom right-hand corner, this is called the traditional algorithm. Now, this traditional algorithm is the way that your parents were probably taught, and maybe some of you know how to use this type of algorithm. And if you do, that's fantastic. In fact, any of these are great. They work just fine. But the one I really want you to get away from is this one here, in the one that's called the lattice method. I'd really like to see you move away from that one and choose one of these other different methods. But today, I'm going to be talking to you about the one using the box method. And so that's the one I have in here in the upper right-hand corner, written in black. And the box method is very similar to the lattice method, and it's very similar to the partial product method. And I'd like to show you how to use those. So this is my way of showing you how to do the box method. As I mentioned before, the box method is somewhere in between using the lattice method and partial product method. In 5th grade, it is our goal to get you away from the lattice method, even to maybe get you away from this box and partial product method and into the standard algorithm. But I like this as sort of an in-between the two, getting you ready for a different level of multiplication. The box method also is very similar to a method that you may learn in high school by solving how to multiply polynomials. So this is a good method in the transition into a higher grade level in your future. So let's take a look at how to do the box method for multiplication. So our question is here, it's 26 times 37. So much like you would do with any other type of problem, is you're going to make a box based on the number of digits you have in the question. So my top row, I have 2 digits, so I'm going to just draw this box here where I have 4 complete numbers, so I need 4 boxes. And so I'm going to write 26 along the top side of this box, but I want to write it in expanded notation, for hopefully you remember what that is. So that 2 is really a 20, and of course the 6 is just a 6. And then we're going to do the same on the side here. 37 I'm going to write on the side, so 37 is 30 and 7. So setting up my question now, put my little multiplication sign up here so we know what we're doing. Now, by multiplying using place value this way, it'll help you understand exactly what it is that you're multiplying. So you can approach this in any possible way, but what we're going to do is I typically like starting here on the left in the top and using that first number 20 in this case. So I would say 20 times then what I have here is 30 on the other side. So 20 times 30. Well, gosh, if you don't quite think of that, knowing when multiplying numbers where both digits have zeros in the end, it's just like saying what is 2 times 3? 2 times 3 is 6, so I'm going to write a 6 here. There we go. And then I have two zeros, so really 20 times 30 is 600. Now, I come across here, now it's 6 times 30. The same thing. Well, what's 6 times 3? I know 6 times 3 is 18, and I bring my 0 along with it, so 6 times 30 is 180. Now, coming along, you can, now taking any way that you want, you can do the 20 again times 7. So 2 times 7 I know is 14 using that same trick and bringing my 0 behind it because it was 20. So now I have 140. And finally, it's 6 times 7, and 6 times 7 is 42. So I have my completed grid that looks like this. I've got a 600, a 180, a 140, and a 42. The thing I have to do now is add them all up. So there's really no good or bad starting place, so I'm going to just off to the side here. I'm going to say 600 plus 180 plus 140 plus 42. When I am able to add all these up, this is my partial product. This is just like the other method that I showed you in the previous slide, partial product. So we have all the different pieces put together. Now all we have to do is add them up. So I have a 2 in this column. 8, we have 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. My pen work here. Carry my 1. And so I have 6 plus 1 is 7, 8, 9. So I have 962 to my answer of what is 26 times 37. I hope that makes a little sense to you. If you don't quite fully understand it, take a look, go back over this, try one on your own. And what I'd like to, if you still have questions, bring your questions to me tomorrow in class. Okay, so I'd like to try just one more method with you, or one more problem with you. Let's do a little bit bigger one. This time we're going to do 316 times 207. So, as I mentioned before, we're going to need a box large enough to contain all of these digits. So, I'm going to need to make my box just a little bit bigger this time. And this time, you're going to need 3 columns and 3 rows. So, drawing my box like this, so now I'm going to go ahead and write my numbers. So this is 300, and this is 10, and this is 6, and then 200, and then 0, of course, and 7. So let's go ahead and get started. So, like we mentioned before, when you have zeros at the end of each problem, you can really just easily ask yourself, what is 3 times 2? So 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to write that 6 here. But then I go ahead and put in all my other zeros. I've got 4 zeros there. Okay, now coming across, now I've got 10 times 200. Well, 1 times 2 is obviously 2, and I have 3 zeros. Okay, looking good so far. Now it's 6 times 200. Well, 6 times 2 is 12, as you should know, and we add our 2 zeros. And there, we've got the entire one row there. Now, moving down, 300 times 0, well, all of these are going to just be 0. Because you know the 0 property means anytime you multiply anything times 0, it's 0. So finally we get to the next number is multiplying by 7. So 300 times 7. So 3 times 7 is 21. There we go, and add my 2 zeros. 10 times 7, well, that's going to be 70. And 6 times 7 is 42. So I have a number now in every single box that I have. And now comes the really the hard part, and that's adding all these numbers up. So making sure that you have your numbers lined up is going to be an important part. Now, one of my suggestions that I have for each of you and parents, listen to this, is a great suggestion. So you know that you have your traditional lined paper like I have, and you know your traditional notebook paper goes this way. Well, I suggest, especially when you're solving multiplication problems where you have lots of numbers stacked on top of each other, turn your paper sideways. Okay, and this way here, your columns go, your paper is going to go like this with the lines. You can put your numbers into those columns there like that, and it'll help you keep all of your numbers all lined up, because this accuracy is really important in solving this type of problem. Okay, I took advantage of just erasing those little helpful hints, but something for you to remember. So let's go ahead and write all these numbers in here. So I've got a 6, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, making sure I get all those zeros lined up there. Now the next one is a 2 with 3 zeros, so let's get our 3 zeros and make sure we have that lined up. And then we've got a couple of zeros here. And I'm going to just exclude all this 0 line here because it's not going to change the outcome of our question. And then, of course, we're down here in the bottom row. And our 70 and our 42. There, everything looks pretty good now. So now it's just a matter of adding. So I have a 2. Here is 4 plus 7, or 7 plus 4, that's going to be 11. Make sure I carry into the right column up here. Okay, so I have 2 plus 1, that's 3, plus another 1, that's going to be 4. And coming to the next column, I have 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 more, that's going to be 5. And the only thing I have in that last column is a 6, if I can squeeze that in. And we have our solution to 316 times 207 would give me an answer of 65,412. So this shows you that you can do it in two different ways, or using 2-digit by 2-digit or 3-digit by 3-digit. This box method might be that helpful hint that each of you might find it helpful for you to solve multiplication problems. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me in the morning. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.